Hello everybody, so today I'm going to be getting into my DC Comics Elseworlds collection. So Elseworlds, if you don't know, was kind of like Marvel's What If, where they sort of swap out a character's abilities or maybe put them in a new place in time. And so it's really cool. These are some of my favorite sort of stories. I really like seeing characters sort of written a little bit differently, but still having those core values that we love about the characters. So the Elseworlds label was kicked off with Batman Gotham by Gaslight. This actually was not released with the Elseworlds label, but this is the book that inspired it. I do not have a first printing. This is just a trade paperback that came out quite a few years back, and it also has the sequel in it, which it's not as highly regarded. Art by Mike Mignola. Classic. I love the way he draws Batman, especially in this story. It's just kind of like a Victorian tale of Jack the Ripper told in a Batman way. So, very interesting. And then I do have an original printing of the sequel. This is called Masters in Time, I believe. So there's that. Gotham by Gaslight was what started it all. There's an animated movie as well. Changed the comic a little bit, but still really cool. One of my favorites of the animated movies. And then we're getting into the first book that actually had the Elseworlds label on it, which was Holy Terror. And this is a Batman story where Bruce Wayne becomes a priest. Very interesting. Interesting cover there. Then we have the Blue, the Gray, and the Bat. It's kind of like a Western. I really like the textured cover there, and it's kind of got like a sort of worn paper look, so that's a cool one. And then we have Superman Speeding Bullets. I think this is a story where it's like Superman landed in Gotham City instead of Kansas or something like that. Pretty interesting one. So it's kind of like a Batman story, but it's also kind of like a Superman story. So then we got Batman Houdini. Haven't read this one, but that's a cool cover right there. I'm not sure who did that, but that's a cool one. We got Superman Kal, so kind of like Superman is a knight there. Pretty cool. This one right here is actually really cool. This is Batman Dark Joker the Wild, where the Joker is kind of like this evil wizard dude, which is pretty cool, but what's actually kind of cool is I have the ash can. I believe that's an ash can. And yeah, I got this at one of my comic shops. They had that in one of their bargain bins, so I just threw that back there. So, pretty cool. Had to have it for the Elseworlds collection. And then we have Batman in Darkest Night. This is where Batman has the Green Lantern abilities. That's such a cool concept. I love Green Lantern. I'm surprised that they didn't do more of these. Batman really is just fit for a Green Lantern ring, for sure. This is one I haven't read, so I don't know much about, and the copy I have, I got for really cheap because it has some water damage to it, but Batman Castle of the Bat, pretty cool looking one there. And then this is part, I'm not sure what part this is. There are 3 parts to this. It's a Man-Bat story, and I only have one of them, but this is a 3-parter. Yeah, Batman Scar of the Bat, so this is like Batman as Scarface, kind of like a mafia story. It's a really cool one. I always like mob stories. Then we're getting into Kingdom Come. So if you don't know Kingdom Come, it's a really, really great story written by Mark Waid, and Alex Ross did the art, but he also did have some writing credit on it as well. And this is a story where, like, it's in the 90s, and superheroes have kind of gone away, and so there's a new wave of these, like, ultra-violent vigilantes, and it's very similar to what was going on with comics at the time. So this was kind of a commentary on the comics of that age, and sort of about getting back to the basic values. And I really love this. It's a phenomenal story. some of the best superhero comics ever written, in my opinion. And even though it is out of continuity, I still like to think of this as kind of like a future that we get to one day. And then this is one I'd never heard of. I just got this in an unboxing I did recently, and I really don't know anything about it, but it's a Justice League story, and it's called League of Justice, so cool one right there. Dark Knights of the Round Table. This is a two-parter. Batman as a knight. Very cool stuff there. Batman Dark Allegiances. This is like where Batman's like in place of Darkseid as the leader of Apocalypse or something like that. Something crazy. Batman Mask. This is like a Batman and a Phantom of the Opera crossover, and that's really cool. Phantom of the Opera is like one of my favorite movies, the silent film or the musical, so really enjoy seeing that. Superman, the Dark Side. This is like where Superman's raised on Apocalypse by Darkseid, so definitely some different wild stuff there. Superman, Metropolis. Metropolis is like an old silent movie. It's like in the public domain, so there are like a bunch of different versions of it on YouTube where people put like all different kind of music in there, but yeah, it's not a movie that I've seen, but I love old silent movies like that, so I'm sure I'll enjoy this. And they did a few that were kind of like that, paying homage to older movies. Superman War of the Worlds. If you don't know what War of the Worlds is, it was an old radio broadcast, and it was read by Orson Welles, and it was about like an alien invasion sort of thing. And a lot of people, because Orson Welles was such a great actor, a lot of people actually thought that this was serious and were freaking out, so they made that into a Superman comic. Very cool. And then we got A Nation Divided. This is a Civil War style Superman story. I got those two on the same day, War of the Worlds and The Nation Divided. Those were very recent pickups. And then we got Nosferatu. This is another one of the old movie sort of ones. And yeah, Nosferatu is definitely not one of my favorite movies from that era, but I've been hearing a lot of really good things about the new one, so if you've seen that, let me know what you think. And then we got Superman, Last Son of Earth. So we saw Batman as a Green Lantern. Now this is what would happen if Superman had those abilities, and it is a two-parter, so 1 and 2 right there. Then we have Batman Lobo. This is one that, like, I've been meaning to get around to reading. I was gonna read it before I moved and then just never got around to it, but I am planning on doing a Lobo video soon, so maybe I'll have to read this soon just in time for that. But yeah, Batman Lobo. How could you go wrong? Batman Demon, a Tragedy. This was a weird one. This was like where Batman, like, he was, like, sleepwalking and, like, doing all these horrible things as the demon. And he was, like, he had amnesia about it, so he didn't remember any of it. It was crazy stuff. I always love Batman crosses over with demons, so that was an interesting sort of take on their dynamic there. We have Batman of Arkham. This is one I haven't read, but it looks like you kind of have a Golden Age style Batman there, so that's cool. I always love anything to do with Arkham Asylum. Gotham Noir. This is like kind of like a Commissioner Gordon type of noir story, so very much feels like a Year One kind of story. If you like Year One, if you like that sort of Commissioner Gordon heavy noir type story, I think you'll really like that one. Gotham Noir. And then most of these were released as like square-bound one-shots, but these ones right here were released as floppies, and I have all of them. It's a 3-part set called Hollywood Night. And this is a story where, like, I think this is about an actor who's, like, playing Batman in a movie. Something like that. This is one I definitely want to read. I got those all in, like, a 50-cent bin recently, so couldn't pass that up. And then the only Green Lantern Elseworld that I have is part 1 of 3. So I don't have the full story, and it's called Evil's Might. And then I actually do kind of have one more Green Lantern, because there was a year that they did all the annuals as Elseworlds, and so there was a Green Lantern one right here where got Jon Stewart and some very mean people back there. And then I do have, there's one that was either in Detective Comics or Batman, where it was like a play on Citizen Kane, the movie, and it was called Citizen Wayne, and I do have that one. I don't know where it is, though. I was trying to find it for this video, and I just couldn't. And there's also a Lobo one, which I do have somewhere in there with my Lobo books, and that was like a Western one, but I'm not going to pull it out right now for this, but I do have a few others. So this is Shadow of the Bat, the Tyrant. Looks like you got an anarchy symbol there, so that's kind of cool. I don't really know anything about that. Haven't read that one, but very cool. And then we have a Superman Man of Steel one. And then the Elseworlds label went away for a long time. Like, it was around throughout the 90s and like into the early 2000s, and then it went away, and it only just recently came back as of 2024. And so now we are getting new books with the Elseworlds label. There have been a lot of like Elseworlds kind of leaning stories, and some of those are actually having sequels, like DC versus Vampires, that are under the Elseworlds label, but officially came back last year, and I do have a couple. I don't have any of the full stories yet, but there's Gotham by Gaslight, the Kryptonian Age, so follow up to Gotham by Gaslight. And I do have a variant cover of issue 1, nice Catwoman book there. And I have issue 2, and this was a cool story. I was really enjoying it, but I did not finish it, so I only have issues 1 and 2 so far. And then the only other current Elseworlds book I have is issue 1 of Dark Knights of Steel All Winter. This is like where Deathstroke is a Viking. Really cool stuff. And then I have a few trades in here as well. So I have Batman Elseworlds Volume 1, and this is a bunch of stories that I already have. I think the only one in here that I don't already have is Robin 3000. So I pretty much have everything in this book, but for reading purposes, I do prefer reading out of trades. So I had to pick this up when I saw it at Ollie's. And I do have Volume 2 of the trades that they put out. This is all of the vampire stories they did. I believe there are 3. And they're all done with Kelly Jones art. And I absolutely love the way he draws Batman. You know, just the cartoonishly long ears. Like, this might be, honestly, my second favorite Batman artist after Neil Adams. And I don't have any of these in singles, so just have the trade right there. And then lastly, we have The Doom That Came to Gotham. This is a very recent trade that came out when that movie adaptation of it did, and I haven't read this, but that movie is honestly one of my least favorite Batman movies that I've watched. Like, I like Elseworlds, and I like them to take liberties with characters and try new things, but there were just some things in there that I just didn't like as a Batman fan. Like, I think that even in an Elseworld setting, there are just some core fundamentals to the character that really should be upheld, and so there were some parts where Batman was kind of senselessly killing people, and I just don't necessarily think Batman of the comics would do that. So I don't like seeing that kind of stuff. I don't know anything about the actual comic itself, but I had to grab it when they put it out in a trade like this. The singles can actually be kind of hard to find for this one, so had to pick it up. Art's really cool, even if the story isn't my favorite. Mike Mignola did the art. This is kind of like an H.P. Lovecraft type of story, and yeah, not my favorite. I actually really like the one that they did just earlier, like last year or something, City of Madness. Like, it was a Black Label one, and it was a kind of a Lovecraftian style Batman. And I like what they did with that one a lot better than this, honestly. But still had to grab it for the collection, so hope you enjoyed checking that out, and stay tuned to see more of my collection. Anyways, thanks.